Okay, welcome back. This is part two. What we're going to do in this part is we're going to kind of continue on our housing. So we're going to activate, right now I have my assembly activated. That's why all three of my components, my 12-tooth spur gear and my 24-tooth spur gear, as well as my housing, are all solid or completely visible. So I'm going to hover over my housing and I'm going to activate that by clicking on the radio button. And now if I look, I can see that the gears are transparent and my housing is now solid. So the goal here is, if this is a keychain, there's a couple things I want to do. I want to add a little kind of part in the front maybe that comes out for the loop of the keychain to go through, and then I want to kind of encase my gears so that they don't fall out, as well as create an axle for the gears to rotate on. So let's start with maybe the perimeter, making a little boundary for the gears to sit inside. So I'm going to make a sketch by clicking on Start or Create Sketch, and I'm going to click on the top surface of my housing plate. Always capture position. And remember, I'm drawing on this top surface here. So I want to make kind of a wall, a thin wall that's going to extrude up. So in order to do that, I want to project the geometry of the perimeter of my housing. So I'm going to click on Create, Project, right here, Project. And then I'm going to kind of hover my mouse until I see the entire outside perimeter light up red, and then I'm going to click once and then hit OK, and then you'll see that this line is now projected as a shadow onto my sketch. And now I can create an offset. Is that under the Create menu? My bad, that's under Modify. So if I go into the Modify menu, I'm going to go to Offset, and when I offset, I can click any line or arc, and then when I do that, I get this basically geometry that's replicated either on the outside by default, or if I click, hold, and drag this little arrow, I can drag it to the inside, and it's basically like creating an identical piece of geometry but on the opposite side of it. So you can kind of see what it's doing. It's just offsetting an additional line on the inside or outside. In this case, I want to go on the inside because it's going to create like a little wall, and I don't want it to hit the gear, obviously, so I can see that number should probably be a thin wall of like negative 0.025. Gotta be careful, you don't want to go too thin, because with the plastic, you start to go too thin, it breaks away. But again, I want to make sure there's enough clearance for the gears. So I'm going to hit OK. And then I'm going to finish my sketch, and then that's the thin little profile that I'm going to click Extrude, and I'm going to pick. So I'm picking that profile, and then I can pull it up, and you can see I'm creating my wall. Now my gears are only 0.2 tall, so I'm going to, this is something that you got to think about as a designer. What are you trying to do? Do you want it to go exactly the height of the gears, possibly maybe a little bit taller, so maybe 0.215, just to make sure that the gears sit inside and that the wall comes up a little bit higher. And then I'm going to make sure it's unjoined, and then I'm going to hit OK. So now these gears can sit inside of this little pocket right here. All right. Now we should probably create a place for the keychain loop to hook through. So again, I'm going to maybe I'll rotate by clicking on this orbit to the bottom of my part, because I'm going to make a sketch on this bottom face. So I'll click Create Sketch, and I'll click on this bottom face, capture position again. Now for this particular part here, I just want to have a little piece of geometry come out. So I'm actually going to go and I'm going to create a slot. a center to center slot. And for this, I'm going to pick the origin, and then I'm going to slide out beyond the part a little bit, and then kind of drag upwards, and you'll see what a slot looks like. It's kind of a long circle to circle shape, just like this. So let's add some dimensions to it. So I'm going to click dimension. A slot is defined by the two center points of the slot, the distance between, and in this case it looks like I can use 1 inch. And then the second dimension would be the diameter of the slot, and in this case I'm going to use 1/2 of an inch. Okay. And then I want to put a little hole, and normally I would use the hole command, but in this case I'm just going to put a circle, and most keychains can fit through a 0.2 hole, just like this. And now that I'm looking at this, I don't probably need it to come out 1 inch. I can probably come out maybe, oops, missed my number here, maybe like 0.9. So now, with that constrained, I can finish my sketch, and all I really want to do is I want to extrude, not the whole thing, just that perimeter, or not perimeter, but just that region or profile, but not the whole, not the circle, because that's going to be a hole. And then I'm going to bring it up. Now I don't know that I need to really bring it up all the way to the top. I could probably just bring it up maybe to 0.2. That's fine. So now I've got a little place to put my hook.